He's trying to, basically demonstrate that this is not just your everyday garden variety election. This is an election between two sides that deeply oppose each other. And that, he also wants to stoke fear that the opposition is going to engage in campaign of revenge and bloodshed itself. So, he's really drawing very clear lines here.
Cadena perpetua le ponen. Pero a Venezuela le pueden hacer lo que ellos les dé la gana. Que venga un show de presidentes fracasados, vendepatria, cachorros del imperio.
We think that he's inciting violence because he knows he's going to lose in a free and fair vote. And he's trying to create a climate of political tension precisely to impose fear on dissent. Once the results are announced by the end of July 28th or even July 29th, the opposition will probably declare victory based on their own exit polls. And this will usher in a period of heightened political tension and uncertainty. And the opposition will push for regime change. But we do not think that Maduro will accept defeat. We think that Maduro will manipulate the results on election day, and he will cling on to power. We do think that Maduro, actually his strict control over the country's institutions, including the security forces, will be instrumental in helping him to hold on to power and to crack down on protests. There will be less people trying to confront the regime. And given that Maduro has a very strict control over the security forces, I think people know it, and they will fear going to the streets in terms of a civil war, in terms of something that will put them in danger, because they know that Maduro will stay in power, and this will kind of reduce the chances of people actually trying to overthrow him. I think there are other two possible scenarios. The most likely one, as I told you, is Maduro manipulate the results, rig the elections and declare victory, and the opposition declares itself as the winner. But I think Maduro can he still can disqualify Edmundo Gonzalez, or he can even suspend the election based on fabricated irregularities. He could fabricate a mock assassination attempt, or he could even use the ongoing tensions with Guyana to declare a state of emergency and simply suspend the election, because he knows he would lose in a free and fair contest. So if he tries to avoid having to resort to clear cheating, he would probably disqualify the opposition, Edmundo Gonzalez, or suspend the election.
He thinks and believes that the military and the National Guard, as well as these private militias the government has organized, colectivos, he will unleash them on the population, on the opposition. So, he's trying to, basically demonstrate that this is not just your everyday garden variety election. This is an election between two sides that deeply oppose each other. And that, he also wants to stoke fear that the opposition is going to engage in campaign of revenge and bloodshed itself. So, he's really drawing very clear lines here, but the opposition has been very clear that they're not out for revenge. They want to build stitch together, if you will, the country that has been torn by 25 years of Chavismo, and in some cases, an opposition that has been less than tolerant of the government and its political project. The threat of violence is real. We've seen it happen. And of course, when you're talking about these private militias, the colectivos, you're talking about organizations that are completely unaccountable. Ones that don't fear, if you will, an ICC, International Criminal Court indictment, or don't fear being sanctioned by the European Union or the United States, which has also been the case for many of some military officers who are engaging in human rights abuses and arbitrary detentions. So, you know, the colectivos in many ways, because they also have a very close rural presence, are really one of the most feared elements of the potential of this government to unleash violence on its own people. There are several scenarios that could play out here. One is that the Maduro government sort of doesn't engage in massive fraud. It doesn't need to because of all these different manipulations it's done and changing the location of voter sites or repressing the vote, hoping to you know, by discouraging turnout and Maduro's comments about a bloodbath were precisely for that reason as well, that they can scrape by. That would obviously not be a free and fair election, and the opposition would protest. If Maduro can't win through those more subtle means, just simply stuffing the ballot boxes, or in this case, it's electronic voting, so some digital equivalent of that, which would also stoke opposition protests. The other possibility is that the opposition does win through a surprise of the government and maybe even the support of the military, which oversees the elections and has for decades. This is not a Chavista Bolivarian project. Russia is a strong ally of President Maduro. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, Russia sent 2 warships to a Venezuelan port. Russia has been colluding with the Maduro government to evade sanctions, supposedly also to launder legally mined gold in Venezuela. So you're going to have the issue of Russia probably trying to block anything that would weaken or even undermine its ally in South America.